How's it going, everyone? Data here, and the Final Four is set for the 2022 NHL postseason. As you can see on my bracket here, not exactly what I thought it would be. Comes down to the Avalanche, Oilers, Lightning, and Rangers. Now, in my last analysis video, which was the recap of the entire second round, when I saw that it was Rangers and Hurricanes, I thought the Hurricanes were going to be taking this one in 6 games, strong at home with a win on the road. But the Rangers fight back after every home team won their game throughout the series. The Rangers turned the tide. After the Hurricanes were unstoppable at home, they turned the tide in Game 7 and win it. And they are off to the conference finals. They are, I believe they're 5-0 in elimination games, and they have, I think, at least a couple Game 7 wins in a row. It's pretty crazy to think about, but the Rangers are in the conference finals against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I do have the Lightning going to the Stanley Cup final, I believe, against the Colorado Avalanche, as pretty much everyone does, to be honest. But we're going to break this down and figure out why we have the Lightning going further, what kind of challenge the Rangers will provide, what kind of series I believe it will be. So the eye test is always nice, but you gotta have the numbers to back it up. So we'll start breaking down this series a little bit. I don't want to look into it too much because that'll be my next video, the entire round 2 recap. This video is more looking forward to the Rangers and the Lightning, comparing those two series as opposed to looking at the Hurricanes and the Panthers having lost. So the Rangers in each game, it was pretty tight each game. It was only really Game 5 that was a blowout for the Hurricanes in terms of expected goals for in those opportunities. They were keeping pace with the Hurricanes quite well when it came to the 5-on-5 expected goals for. It was really the goaltending that really, after Game 3 going into Game 4, began to pull away. But ever since the beginning of the series, both goalies were quite solid. Antti Raanta gave his best in this series, and he did extremely well. If were it not for Shesterkin doing so well, then the chart being as it was, a 4.0, a 4.9, we've been seeing other charts where they go in the negative 6s, that a +2, a +3 is amazing. Raanta, this guy, the Hurricanes goaltending tandem, mostly Raanta, was cumulatively at 4 goals saved above expected by Game 2, 4.9 by Game 3, slightly dropped down, and by the end of Game 7 it was barely at a goal saved above expected. It kind of came back down to earth, but from at least Games 1 to 5, very solid, and only a slight decrease from Game 3 to 4. Meanwhile, Shesterkin never slowed down, 1.2 up to 2.7, 2.7, a 2.2 jump up to 4.9, 6.7, 7.3, another 2.6 jump up to 9.9, which ended off in another 2.2 jump up to 12.1 to end off the series with 12.1 goals saved above expected. Absolutely ludicrous. But when we compare this chart to what we're seeing from the Lightning, Andrei Vasilevskiy is in that same category, especially from Game 3 to 4, where the guy almost saved 4 goals above expected in game number 4. He let in 3 goals through 4 games, and that's going to be the biggest issue for the Rangers. They've had amazing goaltending, yes, but they haven't faced goaltending like this. So we'll get into that in a moment. Just looking at the teams here, the Rangers, they get outshot a lot. That's the issue, I think. They're shooting at 32.4 a game, but they're being shot at 38.9. So if you round it to the closest number, basically they're getting 32-4, 39 against every game. Worst shot differential of the remaining 4 teams. The Lightning shoot a little less, but they also have less shots coming their way, and that's not because they've been against worse teams. I think the defense is just a little more solid. But looking past that, other things that you might be interested in between the Rangers and the Lightning, the power play percentage by almost around 10% is in the Rangers' favor. Penalty kill, however, by just over 7% in the Lightning favor. So does it have to do with the Hurricanes special teams really struggling, where they're at 74% on the penalty kill and 13% on the power play? Yeah, I think that definitely plays into it. So the Rangers' numbers are a little skewed, but think about the Panthers. When we're talking about power plays that were bad, 3.2% on the power play, 71.8% on the PK. So I don't put too much stock into the special teams numbers here because both teams are good. I give the edge to the Lightning for the penalty kill and the edge to the Rangers for the power play, but I want to see two solid goaltenders going at it, and then we'll see what these special teams can do when they're trying to break down a brick wall. Goals for, goals against, stuff like that. The Rangers are scoring slightly more than the Lightning at this moment, but they haven't needed to because the Lightning have only allowed 27 goals in 16 games, while the Rangers have allowed 42. Again, Shesterkin has saved an amazing amount of goals above expected, but it's still much more, I suppose, in such a small sample size than the Lightning. So when we're looking up here, the Panthers' goaltending was solid. Bobrovsky did well, what was expected of him, and even more than that, especially in Game 4, saving over 2 goals above expected. So the Lightning have faced decent to slightly above average goaltending. It's going to be very interesting to see the Lightning play against a goalie they have not quite seen yet. Jack Campbell was in the negatives for the most part when it came to goals saved above expected. But I think that the Lightning are a bit more equipped when they've faced above average-ish goaltending. Meanwhile, the Rangers have faced second and third string goalies on the Penguins and second and third string goalies on the Hurricanes. Now, that's not to say those goalies haven't been good. Here are those solid numbers. But I wonder how this series may have looked, or even the Rangers postseason may have looked, if they played Tristan Jarry and then Freddie Anderson if they had got past the first round. And I don't say all this to rain on the Rangers parade. Like I said at the beginning, crazy performances on elimination games in Game 7s. Shesterkin has been amazing. Their special teams have been very good. They've been sticking with the Hurricanes, a team thought to be the easy favorite in this series. It was really just Game 5 that, thank goodness, Shesterkin went from 6.7 up to 7.3 goals saved above expected, despite the Hurricanes having 69% of the expected goals for. So very good performances from the Rangers, not to knock them at all. Now, looking at the personnel on both teams, when we go to the skaters and we look at the Tampa Bay Lightning first and foremost, this team has been very, very good offensively. Of course, led by Nikita Kucherov, 15 points in 11 games. Victor Hedman has been great on the blue line at 10 in 11. And then here comes the depth scoring. 5 goals and 8 points from Ross Colton, who's been a great revelation. Also 8 points from Palat, Stamkos. It's really scoring by committee. All the way down to number 12 here, I have a guy who has 4 points in 11 games. That's more than a point every 3 games. Meanwhile, on the Rangers, I don't think that same depth is present. If I go down to the 12th player, Trouba 4 in 14, Kakko 3 in 14, not quite the same. But the offensive numbers, Zibanejad 19 and 14, Fox 18 and 14, Andrew Kopp, what an acquisition at the trade deadline he has been for a second-round pick that has since been upgraded to a first because the Rangers have made the conference finals. He has been amazing throughout every series. He's averaging 20 minutes a night on the ice. He's been a great, great player for the team. 12 points in 14 games. Kreider's doing well. Panarin is doing very well, but not having to do anything crazy. Vetrano's been good. Strome's been good. Alexis Lafreniere has been solid enough as well. It's just, I think the depth for the Lightning is deeper, I guess, for a lack of a better term, than the Rangers. Braden Point, 4 points in 7 games, out the entirety of the second round. Should be back, I believe, for the beginning of this third round, give or take a game or two, but I believe he'll be back early on. Brendan Hagel, only 1 goal, 4 points, okay. But like I said, you're able to have a guy like Brendan Hagel only score 1 goal when you have 5 from Ross Colton. So the Rangers, I can only say so much about the Lightning. Back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. They have the championship pedigree. They have the experience. They have the players on their team that have been through all of this before. But now they're coming up against Igor Shesterkin. When we're looking at the goalies, Shesterkin easily up there. It's just him and Vasilevsky. This is going to be one of the best, if not the best, goaltending matchup of the last maybe decade in the playoffs. I say that without doing really any research, but at least in recent memory. 2 goalies that have great save percentages. Don't look at the goals against average. I'm thinking about save percentages. .928 for Shesterkin, .932 for Vasilevsky. And that's not because he played against a lackluster Florida team. He was making miracles. 3 goals against in 4 games. So that's what's really interesting to me. Shesterkin has been amazing. Like we said, the goals saved above expected, 12.1 in this series versus the 10.1 of Vasilevsky. I wonder how that would have gone up even more were this a 6 or 7 game series. So I do give the goaltending edge to Vasilevsky, but you never know what might happen. Shesterkin in the regular season, he was 3-0 against the Rangers with, I believe, a 1.3 goals against average and some high 900 save percentage. So anything can happen, but as of right now, I do believe I give the edge to the Lightning in the goaltending department, but I'm not seeing 6-5 games and stuff like that, where I said in the Oilers and the Avalanche, I wouldn't be surprised if Smith and Kemper both get pulled a couple times each with the offensive blowouts it'll be. Yes, both teams have strong offensive players, but I don't believe it's going to be an offensive type series from what we've seen in the trend here. The trend tells us that Shesterkin and Vasilevsky will be the deciders. But again, thinking about the offense, we can't just expect that the goalies are going to stand on their heads for exchanging 1-0 games back and forth. Yes, the goaltending will be strong, but we're dealing with Mika Zibanejad, who's 3rd in league scoring right now, Adam Fox, who's 4th in league scoring. The Rangers absolutely have a chance in this series. I'm sure many people are writing them off because the Lightning are the heavy favorites as back-to-back champions as well, and after having swept the President's Trophy winning Panthers, understandably so, the Lightning are the favorites in this series. I just don't think that too many people should be discounting the New York Rangers, who have solid depth, not as good as the Lightning I don't think, but solid depth with Kopp performing well, Stroman Vetrano showing up. That is really, really valuable and cannot be overstated. Vetrano playing 15 minutes a night, Stroman playing 19 and a half a night, Kopp, like I said, 20 minutes a night. That allows a guy like Zibanejad to have to play 20 and not go over his head and play 24-25. The defense has been very good. Trouba, say what you will about his play, he's been shooting, he's been blocking, he's been hitting, he's been doing it all. Ryan Lindgren is such an underrated defenseman. I've spoken about him a lot on this channel. I'm a big proponent of Ryan Lindgren. It's just that the Lightning are very strong themselves, and I do think I give them the edge due to their depth, due to their edge in the goaltending. Depth defensively, I think I give it to the Rangers, but for scoring and for the goaltending, I think I give it to the Lightning. Because although I give the Rangers the slight edge in the defensive depth, it is true that they weren't quite as challenged as they should have been by the Hurricanes. Andrei Svechnikov didn't show up, 1 goal, one being his lone point in 7 games. Max Domi, who you thought he was going to be big maybe after his 2 goals in Game 7 against the Bruins, 1 goal. Nino Niederreiter, 1 goal, -5 in 7 games. So the bigger guys were there, Aho, Teravainen, Trocheck, 3 goals, but just to say, they weren't challenged by some of these guys that they should have been challenged by. That's just in the second round. Meanwhile, yes, at the same time, the Lightning weren't as challenged by the Panthers as they should have been either. 2 points in 4 games from Huberdeau, 1 point from everybody else, and then a lot of no-shows in those 4 games. Carter Verhaeghe, who was, 12 points in round 1, no points, 4 games played in round number 2. So both sides weren't as challenged as they should have been, but I do think that when you add in how the Rangers have been playing against backup goaltending and third-string goaltending, although good, kudos to DeSmith, Ranta especially, like I showed in the graphic, Ranta's been good, but it hasn't been Freddie Anderson, Vezina caliber, Tristan Jarry, who was super hot caliber. Now it's up against Andrei Vasilevsky, and I think that may be a bit too difficult for the Rangers to overcome, and then when you're getting a barrage of offense from Kucherov and Stamkos and everybody else on top of it, it may be a bit overwhelming. So I'm not going to say Lightning in 4, I'm not going to say this is an easy series, but due to everything that I've just said, broken down analytically, I do believe that the Lightning take this series. I think it'll be in 5 or 6 games, to be honest. I don't want to discredit the Rangers. Sometimes I overshoot, sometimes I undershoot, so I want to try and be as realistic as possible. 5 or 6 kind of covers all my bases. It's not like I'm putting any money on this, but I do think that the Stanley Cup final will end up being the Avalanche and the Lightning, and from there we can make a prediction. I won't go ahead and predict yet. I think I'd probably lean Colorado at the moment, but we'll see what happens after this conference final. So Lightning and Rangers, it's going to be an interesting one. One of the better goalie matchups of recent memory. I think it's going to be an offensive palooza over in the West, and it's going to be a defensive masterclass over in the East. Who knows what happens, but that's what it's shaping up to be, and it should be a really fun time. So let me know your thoughts. What do you agree or disagree with when it comes to my thoughts on the Eastern Conference final? Do you think that that the Rangers have a chance? Do you think the Lightning take it easily? I'd love to hear your thoughts down here in the comments on YouTube, or even come discuss it with us over on the Discord server, link in the description. Leave a like if you're excited for this Eastern Conference final, and be sure to take a look around the channel a little bit. Besides all the hockey breakdowns and analysis, we also do NHL 22 franchise mode, NHL 07 dynasty mode, and much more. So I think that you would enjoy it very much. We'd love to have you joining in on the team, because the channel would be that much sweeter with you as a part of it. As previously mentioned, I'll leave the round 2 analysis for the next video. I just wanted to have this one looking forward to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I do very much appreciate you taking the time to listen. I'm looking forward to reading all of your thoughts and having some further discussions with you. So I will see you in the next one.